Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Thursday, June 26, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside will reach a high of 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit today, with a low expected to be 63.4 degrees. It's set to be a comfortable day, so enjoy the mild temperatures if you are out and about. On today's show, we will dive into the kind of control a president now holds over the major American company U.S. Steel, a topic with significant economic implications. Then, we will explore what California's new budget prioritizes as the state grapples with its current deficit, highlighting key areas of focus. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. We begin this morning with a groundbreaking development in national security and corporate power. A nearly $15 billion acquisition involving Pittsburgh-based U.S. Steel and Japan-based Nippon Steel has revealed an unprecedented provision that's truly shaking up the industry. For more on this, we turn to our expert reporter, Ethan. Ethan, tell us what this ironclad deal is all about.
Grace, this is indeed a monumental story. Nippon Steel's acquisition of U.S. Steel, valued at nearly $15 billion, finalized just last week, around June 13, 2025, making U.S. Steel a wholly owned subsidiary. But the real headline grabber, according to reporting from Yahoo Finance and WTAE-TV, is a unique provision called a quote, share that has come to light.
A golden share. That sounds quite intriguing. Can you break down for our viewers what exactly a golden share is and why it's drawing so much attention?
Certainly, Grace. Think of a golden share as a special class of share that gives its holder veto power over critical company decisions, regardless of how many shares they actually own. Investopedia explains it's a mechanism often used by governments to maintain significant influence over a strategic company, even if they hold only a minority stake. It originated in the United Kingdom in the 1980s during the privatization of state-owned enterprises, aiming to safeguard national interests. Nations like Brazil and China have also used it to protect strategic industries.
And how is this particular golden share in the U.S. Steel deal unique in the U.S. context?
That's where it truly gets unprecedented, Grace. According to disclosures with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, and reported by Yahoo Finance, WTAE-TV, and the Associated Press, this golden share explicitly grants President Donald J. Trump direct, personal control over key corporate decisions while he is serving as president. He or his designated representative must provide written consent for certain critical actions. Upon his departure from the presidency, control over these powers will revert to the U.S. Treasury and Commerce Departments. Despite a White House attempt to clarify it's for whoever the president is, the contractual wording specifically names Donald J. Trump for his current term.
So this is a very specific, personalized power. What exactly can President Trump veto with this golden share? What are the specific corporate decisions he can control?
The list is quite comprehensive, Grace. As Yahoo Finance and AP News have detailed, it gives the president significant oversight and veto power over critical corporate actions. This includes any reductions in Nippon Steel's pledged $11 billion in capital commitments to upgrade U.S. Steel facilities by 2028. He can also veto changing U.S. Steel's name and headquarters from Pittsburgh, closing or idling U.S. Steel plants, or transferring production or jobs outside the U.S. Furthermore, he has say over buying competing businesses in the U.S., certain decisions related to trade, labor, and sourcing outside the U.S. And, to put the metal to the pedal, the president also gains the authority to appoint a board member to U.S. Steel's board of directors.
That's quite a broad scope of influence. This acquisition process was protracted, wasn't it, with a lot of political opposition? How did we get to this point, especially with President Trump's change of stance?
You're right, Grace. This deal was not a walk in the park. It took about a year and a half to finalize due to significant opposition, national security concerns, and political considerations, particularly in Pennsylvania, where U.S. Steel is headquartered. Both President Trump and former President Joe Biden initially vowed to block the deal. However, after becoming president, Trump changed his tune, characterizing it as a partnership. According to Yahoo Finance, this golden share provision and Nippon Steel's increased capital commitments were added to sweeten the deal and overcome those potential blockages. Legal experts from firms like Freshfields and Mondak have called this provision novel, unprecedented, and unique in CFI-US practice to date.
And for those unfamiliar, CFI-US is the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, correct? How does this golden share differ from the traditional CFI-US review process?
Precisely. CFI-US already grants the president the ultimate authority to block or unwind foreign acquisitions on national security grounds. However, as the Associated Press has reported, this golden share provides a new layer of direct, ongoing enforcement power that is more immediate and targeted. Historically, CFI-US mitigation agreements involved measures like appointing U.S. citizens to sensitive board positions, but they haven't involved creating a special class of share that grants a specific, named president ongoing, personal control. This golden share acts as a proactive, real-time tool, functioning as a direct and immediate presidential veto on specific, predefined corporate actions, rather than just reviewing the transaction itself.
So it's a truly personalized touch. Do other major economies employ similar tools to protect their strategic industries from foreign takeovers?
They absolutely do, Grace. Countries like the United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Australia all have robust mechanisms to scrutinize and block foreign takeovers of strategic industries. For example, the UK, under its National Security and Investment Act, can block or impose conditions on deals in 17 sensitive sectors. Just 2 months ago, in April 2025, the UK even passed the Steel Industry Special Measures Act to oversee British Steel's Scunthorpe plant and prevent its closure. France continues to employ golden shares in key privatized companies like Thales and Engie, granting the state-specific rights to veto asset sales. However, what sets this U.S. steel deal apart is its explicit grant of direct, personal control to a named sitting president, a feature without known precedent in CFI-US history. It's certainly a game-changer in the world of foreign direct investment.
Ethan, thank you for breaking down this complex and fascinating development. It really puts a new twist on what an ironclad agreement can be. That was Ethan for us, reporting on the U.S. Steel acquisition. Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our coverage this morning with a look at some significant financial news out of Sacramento. California's Governor Gavin Newsom has just reached a substantial state budget deal, totaling a staggering $321 billion with legislative leaders. This agreement aims to tackle what has become a very thorny issue for the state, a growing budget deficit. Joining us to break down the ins and outs of this complicated financial puzzle is our Sacramento reporter, Chloe. Chloe, we know the state has been grappling with a significant deficit. Can you set the stage for us with the numbers?
Grace, it's certainly been a fiscal tightrope walk for California. According to reporting from LAist, which sourced its information from CalMatters, the immediate budget shortfall is about $12 billion. However, this is just the tip of the iceberg, as it's projected to balloon to over $20 billion annually in the coming years. This increase is largely due to factors like rising healthcare costs, new tariffs, and even potential federal funding cuts. In fact, over a 3-year window, the deficit could reach as high as $47 billion. So a substantial gap to bridge, to say the least.
That's quite a spread, from $12 billion to $47 billion. It sounds like they're trying to prevent a fiscal freefall. What's the plan to cover this deficit? How are they planning to balance the books?
Well, Grace, the state is pulling out all the financial stops, so to speak. The final budget accord uses a multi-pronged approach. California will tap into approximately $7 billion from its rainy day fund, which is essentially the state's emergency savings account, and another $6.5 billion from other cash reserves. This amounts to roughly $13.6 billion in reserve withdrawals. On the spending side, the plan includes $16 billion in reductions, with a nearly 8% cut to state operations and the elimination of thousands of vacant state jobs. To generate revenue, they're temporarily suspending net operating loss deductions for businesses and limiting business tax credits to $5 million for the next 3 years.
So, a mix of savings, cuts, and some new revenue. But what about the programs that were initially on the chopping block? Were there any significant restorations or protections for critical services?
Absolutely, and this was a major point of negotiation, according to LAist, and consistent with summaries from CalMatters, the Sacramento Bee, and the Los Angeles Times. Governor Newsom notably backed off some of his initially proposed deep cuts to healthcare programs. This includes reversing reductions to long-term care benefits, overtime pay for home health aides, and funding for reproductive health providers. Crucially, the deal avoids reinstating a strict asset test that could have removed newly eligible older and disabled Californians from Medi-Cal, and no one currently enrolled in Medi-Cal will be disenrolled. Public transit agencies, the University of California, and California State University systems also successfully avoided direct funding cuts. However, some university funds are deferred, meaning they'll take out zero-interest loans from the state. We're also seeing $620 million in grants and loans for affordable housing construction and $500 million to support local homelessness services.
It sounds like a lot of crucial areas were protected or saw eased cuts, which is certainly welcome news for many. But I understand there's one area that's proving to be quite controversial. Tell us about the changes to Medi-Cal for undocumented immigrants.
This is definitely the part of the budget deal that has sparked widespread condemnation, Grace. The agreement moves forward with significant limitations on Medi-Cal services for undocumented immigrants. This decision, according to LAist and CalMatters, is largely attributed to what the administration described as $6 billion in unexpected cost overruns within the program. There are 3 key changes. First, starting January 1, 2026, which is about 188 days from now, enrollment for adults without legal status in Medi-Cal will freeze. The UC Berkeley Labor Center projects this could result in nearly 700,000 fewer people covered by 2028 to 2029. Second, in July 2026, roughly 369 days from today, full-scope dental coverage will be eliminated for those enrolled, though emergency services will remain. Advocates like sourceonhealthcare.org warn this will lead to a decline in oral health. And finally, a $30 monthly premium for undocumented Medi-Cal patients aged 19 to 59 will take effect in July 2027, about 735 days from now.
A $30 monthly premium for a crucial health service certainly sounds like it could be a burden for families already struggling. What has been the reaction to these particular cuts?
It's been swift and harsh from many corners, Grace. Healthcare advocates and immigrant rights groups, including the Health for All Coalition, have labeled these cuts a broken promise and cruel, warning they will create a 2-tiered healthcare system, according to AP News and CBS News. Assemblymember Seed El-Hawari, for instance, stated that such moves would make California no better than the Trump administration, as reported by Independent.com. Governor Newsom, for his part, has maintained that the state is not cutting or rolling back those enrolled in our Medi-Cal system, we're just capping it, according to K.gov.
So a difficult balance to strike. Now, another aspect of this budget that's raised eyebrows is the state's fiscal priorities. We're seeing cuts to healthcare, but at the same time, the state is significantly increasing its film and television tax credit. How does that make sense?
It's certainly a point of contention, Grace. The budget more than doubles the state's film and television tax credit, from $330 million to $750 million annually. Governor Newsom and entertainment industry leaders, like the Motion Picture Association, championed this as essential for keeping California competitive and preventing runaway production to other states. The Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, the LAEDC, even claims a $24.40 return in economic output for every dollar in tax credits. However, the state's nonpartisan Legislative Analyst's Office, or LAO, has consistently expressed skepticism, stating there is no compelling evidence that the credit has a large, positive effect on the state's economy overall, as reported by CA.gov via Cap Radio. Critics argue that providing such large tax breaks to a wealthy industry while curtailing essential services for low-income residents is a misallocation of resources.
That's quite the fiscal tightrope walk, as you said earlier. And with such a large deficit, I imagine there's been talk of raising taxes. What's Governor Newsom's stance on that?
Governor Newsom has consistently opposed broad-based state tax increases, a stance supported by business groups like the California Chamber of Commerce or calchamber.com. They argue that tax hikes would harm the state's economy. However, progressive groups and advocates contend that this refusal to consider new revenue streams, such as ending certain corporate tax breaks or implementing targeted tax increases on high earners, forces the state into a, quote, false choice of cutting critical programs, according to the Western Center on Law and Poverty. They argue a state with California's wealth has the capacity to avoid such cuts.
Fascinating. So, what's next for this budget? Are there any unresolved issues, or is this deal truly set in stone?
While Grace is being California politics, it's rarely set completely in stone. Several significant policy questions remain unresolved, including Governor Newsom's demand for language to streamline housing project construction near public transit, which has faced resistance in the state Senate. The reauthorization of the cap-and-trade system and his controversial Delta Tunnel project also remain unaddressed. The budget could also be revisited later this year or next due to ongoing federal tax bill negotiations, which could lead to deep cuts in healthcare and food aid funding, as noted by LAist. The deal aims to balance the budget for both the current 2024 to 2025 and the upcoming 2025 to 2026 fiscal years, hoping to avoid another round of painful cuts. Governor Newsom's signature on the budget is contingent on finalizing legislation related to housing and infrastructure development.
Chloe, thank you for breaking down this very complex budget deal for us. It sounds like a lot of plates spinning in Sacramento. We appreciate your reporting on this crucial issue.
You're very welcome, Grace.
That was Chloe, our Sacramento reporter, keeping us in the know on California's fiscal future. When we come back, we'll take a look at the weather, but first, a quick break. Here are some other headlines. In New York politics, it seems a stunning upset in the Big Apple has caused a bit of a commotion. Self-described Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani has won the city's Democratic mayoral primary. He defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo. The victory for the 33-year-old state assemblyman is sending shockwaves through the Democratic Party. It is igniting an ideological battle between its progressive and moderate wings. Progressives are hailing the win as a blueprint for the future. However, moderate Democrats fear national fallout. They worry that Mamdani's unabashedly socialist platform will be used by Republicans to paint the entire party as radical in the upcoming midterms. Republicans are, in fact, already seizing on the victory. The National Republican Congressional Committee has labeled Mamdani an anti-Semitic socialist radical. Mamdani, who ran on a platform of city-owned grocery stores and free bus services, says the party has for too long abandoned the working-class voters who powered his grassroots campaign. From political battles to legal ones, an administrative judge for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has been fired after resisting a Trump-era executive order. Judge Karen Ortiz was dismissed after sending an email to colleagues calling the order unethical and a betrayal of the agency's mission. The order defined sex as an immutable biological characteristic. It had led the EEOC to drop pending legal cases on behalf of transgender workers. In her email, Ortiz called on the agency's acting chair to resign. The EEOC cited profoundly unprofessional conduct for the termination. Civil rights advocates are decrying the move as politically motivated. The agency's Trump-appointed chair, Andrea Lucas, has defended the policy. She states that biology is not bigotry. It appears there was no equal opportunity for dissent. And now for a story that is truly out of this world. An international crew from India, Poland, and Hungary has successfully launched on a historic, privately funded mission to the International Space Station. Axiom Mission 4 marks the first time astronauts from these three nations have flown to the station. Commanded by veteran NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson, the crew will spend about 2 weeks in orbit conducting a wide range of scientific experiments. But it is not all work. They are also spicing things up in orbit. They brought along national foods, including Indian curry, Hungarian paprika paste, and Polish pierogies for a taste of home. Back down on Earth, a story that is credential-related and concerning for anyone online. Cybersecurity researchers have uncovered what is being called the mother of all data breaches. This is a massive compilation of 16 billion login credentials. This is not a new hack. Rather, it is a huge collection of data from numerous past breaches. It was likely scraped by malicious software. The data reportedly includes usernames and passwords for major platforms like Google and Facebook. Experts warn this is a blueprint for mass exploitation. They are urging everyone to take immediate action. So, if you have been reusing your dog's name from 2012, it might be time for a serious digital comb-over. You should change your passwords, make them unique, and enable two-factor authentication wherever possible. And finally, a headline that is more of a head-scratcher. Reports have been circulating about Pope Leo XIV affirming priestly celibacy. There is just one problem. It seems this news is not exactly gospel truth. There is no Pope Leo XIV. The current pontiff is Pope Francis. The last pope to take the name Leo passed away in 1903. While the headline itself is fictional, the topics of priestly celibacy and the Church's response to sex abuse remain very real and ongoing issues. These are being addressed by the actual Vatican leadership. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 4.0, Gemini Pro 2.5, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.